I'm Carrie Adams, and you're listening to Carrie's Connoisseurs, coming to you from Solid Gold Podcasts. Here we talk to the movers and shakers, the drinkers, the dreamers, and all the people who make it happen in the liquor and luxury industries from around the world. Well, hello everybody. It is the 30th of June, the last day of June. And I haven't been in this recording studio for too long. I've been away. I don't know what I've been doing. Anyway, Herve and I decided that we would resume our French journey for you. So thank you for coming into the studio, Herve. For those of you who haven't watched the first one, you have to watch the first one. We're doing a little French course, really. Hey.
Yeah, well, it's introduction to Frenchness in that sense.
And we love Frenchness. We absolutely love Frenchness, especially when it's with you, Swerve, because we all know that you are the most gorgeous Frenchman in South Africa.
There's not many of us. That's right.
So, tomorrow is the start of the Tour de France, and it goes for most of July. So Herve has selected some wines that we thought would keep you company while you watch the Tour de France, because it does go on and on and on and on. I get a bit bored with it after a while. But we're not going to get bored if we're watching with wine.
Well, precisely. That's why you can drink along.
We'll drink along. So we're going to do that, and we're going to take you through some of the regions of France that the bicycle race goes through. And you can drink that specific wine when they are in that specific area. And then, of course, the 14th of July is Bastille Day, which is a very important day in any Frenchman's life. The storming of the Bastille. It was a long time ago, 1789 or something.
Correct, yes.
Long time ago. And the start of the French Revolution, really.
Correct, yes.
So
democracy.
When we get democracy, such as the French do it. I mean, is France a democracy?
It is, but the beautiful thing about the French democracy in 1789 is that eventually, 10 years later, Napoleon was an emperor.
That's what I say. Such as the democracy goes. It's interesting to have it was a bit like German democracy as well, with the Führer.
It's the impression of democracy, but that eventually it became very important because it's laid at the root of France as we know it today. In so many ways, in all its complications, but it's all its beauty too. It's
so beautiful. France is extraordinarily beautiful. One of my favorite places. I just wish that I could speak French a whole lot better than I can. If I wasn't so embarrassed, because I speak French with an English accent, which doesn't sound right, you know. But then when Frenchmen speak English with a French accent, it does sound right. Yeah, well, explain that.
We don't really have a choice anyway. Well, maybe we could speak perfect English, but why should we?
Why should you? No, because you're an arrogant Frenchman, that's why. Speaking of arrogant Frenchmen, we've got the arrogant frog here today, which we're going to speak to you about. So I should actually stop talking and hand over to you now, because you're going to do the little Tour de France route and tell them what we're doing.
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you again, Carrie, for hosting me. It's always a pleasure to be chatting with you. It's always a pleasure to be sharing our love and passion for wines and for all things with France and international wines in that matter. And yes, this is peak Frenchness right now. The Tour de France starting tomorrow, Bastille Day in a few weeks. And a lot of our clients that travel to Europe around this time of the year as well. They escape the winter.
Summertime, yeah.
Exactly.
Summertime in France. Can't get better than July in France. July in Bordeaux.
Yes, especially in the main cities. You know, the French people have actually escaped the main cities to go on holidays. Revered holidays. You know, holidays are sacred.
They have France. About 6 weeks of them a year as well.
Oh, at least. Yeah.
They do. I mean, I think that there was a big riot of sorts recently, because somebody was saying that they were going to cut their holiday by 1 week, which meant that they only got 6 months of holiday instead of 7. French are impossible. They're impossible.
Well, you know, we fought very hard to get these holidays.
I know.
That's why, you know, you with the French culture, you know, you may risk a riot, as we're seeing these last couple of days as well. But yeah.
I know. I see what I didn't know. The kids were telling me here in the studio about the riots in France. Somebody got shot.
Yeah, more about let's see with police treatment, but I think that's another matter, and we shouldn't get into
I know,
the
we don't want to
politics
get
in
into
that.
We've got nice stuff to talk about. We're not going to do politics. It's such a waste of everybody's time. Let's not do that.
Precisely. But yes, the Tour de France is starting tomorrow.
Yeah.
And we've got a lot of cycling enthusiasts. And that's why it is the most popular theme that we have, because Tour de France is a name that everybody knows here. And it goes for about 3 weeks. It always starts in another country, in a neighboring country.
I didn't know that.
Yes.
Can you imagine the total value of bicycles and all the equipment that goes with those bicycles that's going to be driving around France for the next 3 weeks? I wonder what it totals. Must be millions and millions of euros.
It might be staggering, mind-blowing amount of money, but that's why maybe a lot of insurance companies are the sponsors of these teams in so many ways. But yet, it is really an organization that is massive, and that's why it is one of the most revered tools in the cycling agenda.
It's the only one that anybody ever really watches, I think.
I think that is the most popular, but there's obviously some others, one in Italy, the Giro, in the Vuelta in Spain, are also extremely popular. But I think the Tour de France has just this aura for having gone for more than a century now.
Is that how old it is?
I believe so.
Do we know the history of the Tour de France?
I don't know the history too well, I have to be honest. I'm more in tune with today.
I've got a bicycle that I've had for 150,000 years. I don't have knee pads and ankle guards and helmets and whatever. It's just a sit-up and big bicycle. I don't know what happened to cycling. It's gone absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy. It's so expensive and it's so designer. But we just used to have bicycles, but now it's not like that. So we're starting in the Pyrenees.
So we'll be starting technically this year. I don't know if we can see the map too well. I always go around with my French maps anywhere I go. If you see me, you take it out of my coat.
What do you call somebody who loves geography? Herve loves geography.
You're a geographile. Yeah.
Geographile, that's what we're going to call you.
So it's going to start in the Basque country in Spain. And for a couple of days here. So if you want to drink along, what my suggestion is, you're not very far from one of the most popular wine regions in Spain, which is Rioja. So that would have what I would suggest to drink along in these first few days. After that, it will cross into the Pyrenees, and it goes into a few specialist regions, such as Madiran,
So they've got
Jurançon.
to drive, they've got to ride over the Pyrenees mountains.
Yes.
That's a bit of a tough one. The Pyrenees are high.
It is, and especially this year, they're going to have a lot of mountain stages.
They change their route every year.
Every year, yes.
Okay.
So, I mean, historically, they used to go really all around France, but in today's day and age, they can't, afford to go for a couple of months. So they have to get it shortened in a few weeks. So the way that they'll go is, after a couple of days in the Pyrenees, they'll go up in Bordeaux. And obviously, that's why for wine lovers, we will, after going into these Jurançon, Madiran, a little bit of the left bank of Bordeaux. They're going to have 2 stages in Bordeaux. So for the first day, they'll go through the left bank. On the second day, they'll go through the right bank.
They're going to do a bit of each. That's good. I love Bordeaux.
Precisely. And that's when you get a chance to, when you watch the tour, I think a lot of people really enjoy the scenery, the landscape, and this is shot
Bordeaux
quite beautifully.
is one of the most beautiful cities. It's got gorgeous restaurants in it.
No, it has really blossomed as a city.
I was surprised the first time I went to Bordeaux. I had no idea how important it was. I think Bordeaux was the seat of the judiciary or something in France at some stage. Or they had the Houses of Parliament there, or they had a secondary parliament in Bordeaux. I can't remember, but there was something quite important about Bordeaux. I can't remember now. But it is an extremely beautiful city. So, when they start off, they're going to have some Rioja in Spain. I don't know how long it takes them to get from Spain into
So we're going to be in Spain
France,
for about 3 days.
My suggestion would be that you make a note of these wines And just go and buy a couple of bottles of each and keep them at home so that you can decide when you're going to drink what. You don't have to. There's no strict rule, but this is just a suggestion. So what are we going to tell them to drink when we're going through Bordeaux?
So when you're going through Bordeaux, on the first day, you'll be going through the left bank. For example, for the amateurs of sweet wines, you'll start with Sauterne. So a dessert wine, one of the most revered wines.
Which you could have for breakfast.
You could have
it over
occasion.
Your oats.
Exactly. That's the danger of these sticky wines.
We love sticky. We could put it over oats.
And they're immortal. These wines can go for centuries most of the time.
I know. So even if you find in your cellar one of your mother or your granny or your great-granny's old bottle of whatever, drink it. It'll be lovely. If it's a sweetie, if it's a sticky.
Precisely. After that, if for the red wines or white wine lovers, it would more be the Grave regions. And one of the appellations is Pessac-Léognan. So it's one of the few that in Bordeaux that produces both white wines and red wines.
Sauvignon Blanc, eh?
Sauvignon Blanc and Semillon, both of them. That's the Bordeaux blend. And it's called Grave because of the thick gravels.
Is that what Grave is?
It's correct, yes.
Okay.
So we have Merlot, Cabernet Sauvignon that thrive as well in these gravels. So, and gravels in Bordeaux is particularly good for Cabernet Sauvignon in that regard.
It is. It should be everywhere, to be honest, because it imparts that minerality into the wine that gives it that clean savoriness that I love in Cabernet.
Yeah. And
so what are we telling them to have? What have you brought along from his...
So the example that I brought will be for the next day once you bridge into the right bank. Into the right bank, you go through Saint-Émilion, Pomerol, and next to Saint-Émilion, you've got a fantastic appellation which is called Castillon, Côte de Bordeaux, which I find to be fantastic value. And
Saint-Émilion is probably one of the prettiest little towns in France.
It is, yeah. I mean, it is gorgeous. I mean, some of the town has been carved in the limestone, really.
Yeah.
So, and this limestone is great for Merlot, in particular. It's a plateau of limestone. The Church of Saint-Émilion is gorgeous. It's completely carved into the limestone itself. And you even see some of the vines oozing through the limestone. It looks
almost like it's straight out of a storybook, really. It's almost like somebody painted it, hey? It's
correct.
Not real. It's just so pretty. If ever you want to go on a holiday, Saint-Émilion has to be on your list of places to go. It's just, the wines are lovely and the little town, it's not a city, it's a town, really. Just too beautiful. So we're going to be drinking?
So here we've got an example of fantastic value wine called the Château des Demoiselles from Castillon. The Château des Demoiselles means the castle of the ladies in that way. And that's because in the Middle Ages, this property was run by nuns.
Oh, really? There were a lot of nuns who ran wineries, you know. God bless the Catholics. They've done so much for us, haven't they, really?
Well, historically, yes. Historically, wine and church have always been closely associated with service.
Always.
So this is 75% Merlot, 25% Cabernet Sauvignon. We have currently a 2015, which is just peaking right now to be drank. Beautiful flintiness that comes around.
Yeah.
Subtle, you're going to have a little bit of an evolution with a little bit of a dried herb profile that comes around when Bordeaux ages, but still fresh, blossoming fruit and violets.
The Merlot from France is quite different, really, to the Merlot that we grow here. Somehow they get rid of the greenness that we have on a lot of our Merlots here. Merlot, shame. I'm always a bit rude about Merlot.
Well, Merlot,
I think Merlot, I don't know.
Merlot is a great one, especially in global warming. I mean, I was in Bordeaux last year, and sometimes because of global warming, they're starting to plant a bit more Cabernet Franc to replace Merlot, because Merlot doesn't like too much heat, too much warmth. And we know South Africa has a warm climate in that way. So if you pick it too early, it's going to have a greenness.
The only Merlot I really, really like to drink is Chateau Petrus. The only one that we really want.
You get spoiled with luxury taste.
I feel a bit sorry for Merlot, because I know that it's terribly politically incorrect, but I give my grapes genders just to help me feel them. And I think that Merlot is a gay boy, because he is a boy, because red grapes are boys, largely.
Well, it is a male name in France.
It is.
Yes.
But he tries to be sort of quite macho but he just doesn't quite get there. He needs Cabernet to help him along a bit.
Correct. Well, Merlot is a mid palate cultivar. Cabernet Sauvignon is a front palate cultivar.
Yeah.
So if you want a little bit more body, a little bit more power, you're going to want to blend in with Cabernet Sauvignon.
Yes. Or, as you say, Cabernet Franc, which we also love.
Correct,
We
yes.
love in Cabernet Franc. Anyway, so this is just Merlot and Cab. None of the
Cabernet
other red
Sauvignon.
varieties,
Correct,
eh?
and
Okay.
this goes for 210 Rand a bottle. So it's a fantastic introduction.
It's such good
non-pretentious.
value for money. Should we show? Can you see? Can everybody see? I'm going to show you. I'm going to put it there in the front for you to look at for a bit, so you can write that down. That would be absolutely delicious. And you don't have to drink the whole bottle in a day. Just watch for a bit, for a glassful. Put a little stopper back in it. Open it again tomorrow if you want to. It's lovely wine.
Exactly. I mean, you can enjoy it in your own pace, as the cyclists do.
Yeah.
In that sense.
Yeah.
Fun fact about the Tour de France actually is that in the old days, the cyclists were drinking wine while
As
going
they should
through-
have. As they
while
should. I
riding.
can't believe they're not still doing it.
And you can still find these old archive stories and pictures where you see them drinking along while riding, or taking a quick stop, having a glass, and
I
then moving
know.
on.
We could even go and set up a drip. We could have a drip station there, and we could let them drive with a little infusion of Bordeaux.
Precisely.
So when we've come around the corner, and we're now going onto the right bank.
So yes, so we've gone through the right bank, and then what the riders will do is they'll cross through in the center of France, which is called more Auvergne. So some of it comes through the Upper Loire, and as in the Upper Loire, I mean, it's a bit of a stretch here, but the closest of the Upper Loire would be the birthplace of Sauvignon Blanc in the say. And I brought a little Loire Sauvignon Blanc to express this as well. So this one is a Vin de Pays, it's IGP from the
It's
Loire
also
Valley.
your little birthplace, isn't it?
It is, yes. I come a little bit more from a further side from there, but yes, it always has a dear place in my heart.
Well, then all things beautiful come from the Loire by the looks of things. Swervy is my most beautiful person. He doesn't mind me saying so.
And I'm not immune to kind words and compliments, so
No,
please
you're not.
continue.
You love it, I can see.
So a small domain that we just started to bring in. And you see, we only call it Sauvignon, not even Sauvignon Blanc, but for them it's a given that it's going to be Sauvignon Blanc.
Yeah.
So it called it Sauvignon Blanc. It's a cultivar on the name because it's a broader appellation. This one, what I like about it, it's a bit rounder, it's a bit riper. It doesn't have the green
I've
profile.
been finding that with a couple of the Sauvignons that I've tasted from France recently. You and I tasted a few samples and things a little while ago when you were looking at different producers to bring into South Africa. Because that's, in case you're wondering, that's what Herve does. He is certainly one of the most reliable and biggest importers of French wine into South Africa now for how many years?
5 years. We're going to celebrate 5 years in the next few weeks, actually.
We're going to celebrate 5 years, and I think it's really, really well worth having a look at the wines that he does bring in. We've got some in the Solid Gold online shop that is attached to these podcasts, and we'll maybe increase that offering as time goes on. But I think one of the biggest things about your offering is that they are so affordable. And because he knows what he's talking about, he brings delicious wines in at the right price. So whatever you buy that comes from Premier Cru, which is the name of his company, you can rest assured that the quality is good. I've never tasted a horrible wine from Premier Cru.
Well, I aim never to disappoint.
Aim to please.
Exactly. Aim to
So
please.
that's Sauvignon, and it is much more melony, and it's like sun-kissed melons, that wine. It's delicious. It's really, really nice. It's dry, but you can drink it.
Precisely. And again, fantastic value for Sauvignon Blanc lovers. This one goes for 175, right?
I know. You can hardly even buy local Sauvignon for that.
Yeah, they're starting to to get into this pricing as well.
I know. So that's what we're going to do as we're making our way across the center of France and we're heading towards Beaujolais.
Exactly. Well, yes, that's exactly the next step because as they start going towards the Alps, and it's a little bit of a mountainous terrain in the Massif Central, as we call it. These are these old volcanoes or old mountains. And we cross into Beaujolais. So most of you may know Beaujolais, not for the best name with the Beaujolais Nouveau, but Beaujolais really has come back to the limelight in recent years.
Beaujolais is gorgeous. When I turned 50, I took my family and my closest friend, 6 of us, and we went on a barge. And everybody would have said to me when you turned 50, Carrie Adams worked in wine her whole life. What did you drink on your 50th birthday? My birthday's in October. And we were there when they had just harvested. And we literally took what looked like a petrol canister into the little village of whatever it was that we were on. We got the bicycles, and they just gave us some of that free run juice that they just squeezed and squashed and that's what we drank. The 6 of us got terribly frotties on that barge that night on stuff that had just been pressed, and that's sort of what Beaujolais Nouveau is, hey? Correct,
yes, which tends to be released 3 weeks after the harvest, freshly pressed, and then I believe it's the 3rd week of November.
You see how expensive Beaujolais Nouveau is becoming?
Why? Well, I think everything has with inflation and exchange rates. But Beaujolais has come back to the limelight, especially because what most people don't know is that Beaujolais historically was part of Burgundy.
Yeah.
And Burgundy prices have gone throughout the roof based on demand and a small production, which has been compounded by difficult harvest in the last few years. But there's some Beaujolais cru and some fantastic value for money in Beaujolais. Now it got separated from a wine perspective as well because the main grape variety, as you know, Carrie, in Beaujolais is Gamay. What people don't know is that there's a little bit of Gamay in Burgundy.
There is.
And there's a little bit of Pinot Noir in Beaujolais.
There is.
Based on that
with a little bit of English, my third world child.
Exactly. So they're cousins in that regard. So here we're talking about Gamay, which to me is a perfect summer wine. In that regard.
Gamay is gorgeous. It's sort of, how could we explain to our South African audience? It's sort of like Cinsault-ish or Grenache-ish. It's light, it's tinkly, it's all translucent, you can see through it, it's much lighter.
Exactly. It's perfect red wine to get introduced into red wines as well.
It's like cold drink.
Yeah, it's very limited tannins.
Yeah.
It's fresh, it's fun, it's
doesn't
fruity.
take to oak too well.
No, not too much, yes. But it's a good wine to be drunk, especially in the first few years.
Yeah.
And in the warmer days, this lightly chilled is a delight. I always, whenever I go to Durban, I say it's a perfect Durban weather wine.
It is a Durbs wine, that's for sure. It's Durbs on the beach wine.
Precisely. So
which one did you bring?
So I brought this example from a small producer called the Domaine de Saint-Cyr, which, I mean, look at this label.
You make it sound like you're honestly proposing to me. The answer is yes.
Well, I think whoever proposed to you has put a ring on a bottle. It's a small estate, 4th generation.
It's quite a nice label, hey?
It is, yes. It
just looks like they've
traditional,
written it. Yeah.
Correct, which they probably did in the initial design.
It's just very cool. It's quite what's the word? It's quite pedestrian, that label, but I mean, it's just really nice.
It's really delivered on that regard.
And when you put it in your mouth, it's going to be like Ribena, or what's that stuff called? What's it? Ribena or Fortress? Is it called Fortress?
I'm not too sure here.
It's like a blackberry and blueberry and raspberry cordial.
Oh, no, I don't know this one.
Fortress. I think it used to be called Fortress. And that's exactly what they taste like. It tastes like lovely, sweet, ripe, red fruit.
And
cordial.
I particularly enjoy this one because it's a biodynamic estate, organically certified. And this one is more for a regional Beaujolais, but it's made from old vines, already 50-year-old vines. And the name of this one is La Galoche. which is the
what
name.
What does La Galoche mean?
I think you're going to enjoy that story. You're going to enjoy that story.
Okay.
So initially, that's the name of a little stream they have in the middle of the estate. But it's also a term in French slang. And in French slang, that means a sloppy French kiss.
Oh my God, nobody wants a sloppy French kiss. We don't want that.
It's two teenagers kissing
Ah,
in
okay.
that way.
Okay. Okay, well, then we'll never forget that, guys. If you'd like a sloppy French kiss, go and buy a bottle of La Galoche.
Precisely. And this one goes for about 290 rand.
That's good value for money, I think. When we finished in Beaujolais and we finished doing French kissing in Beaujolais, what are we going to do? Where are we going?
So then we're going to spend a lot of time in the Alps. So there's a lot of stages in the Alps. Some of the closest wine regions is Savoie. We don't bring any Savoie. It's kind of quirky. Actually, Savoie is getting very trendy back in France. Getting a revival, but we haven't imported any yet. But otherwise, I would suggest to go into the Northern Rhone, which is the birthplace of Syrah.
We love Syrah.
So very close by in the Rhone Valley. The Northern Rhone is more granitic soils, and you have a cooler climate, and the Syrah coming from the Northern Rhone is known for this peppery, spicy profile that comes
So
around.
that Northern Rhone, for me, always, and just so that you know, I'm going to tell you, but it hasn't got a thing on it. Or is that from all the bottles from the Southern Rhone have that embossing on it, don't they?
So the embossing, and I see you had a picture, an example here of a bottle of Châteauneuf du Pape.
Yes.
So the embossing on the Châteauneuf du Pape bottle is when the bottle actually comes from Châteauneuf.
From Châteauneuf.
It's only from
Is
Châteauneuf.
it only Châteauneuf that's got the embossing?
And sorry, only from the estate. Only from the estate
yes.
in Châteauneuf. So there are a couple of other examples of embossing, but the most popular.
Most of it from Châteauneuf.
Most known.
So the Shiraz from the Northern Rhone, if any of you know what English violets smell like, they do smell so pretty. We get proper little English violets here in South Africa, but they don't smell. If you pick a bunch of violets in England in the forest, they smell absolutely beautiful, and that's what that Northern Rhone Shiraz smells like. So it smells that beautiful English violet perfume, and then, as Herve says, when you've swallowed it, you get a dusting of white pepper. White pepper tastes very different to black pepper for me, and you get a dusting of that white pepper on the back palate, and then you know you're in the Northern Rhone. It's a dead giveaway sign. And I'm sure that this gives us exactly that. It's a nice example.
Yes, and that's a very delicate. On the fruit side, you go also towards very much cherries as well. And you think, depending on, the age of the vines, you may go towards more the black cherries or the red cherries. Here, this estate is Paul Jaboulet-Aîné, which is one of the most revered estates when it comes to
one of the oldest families from there as well, I think.
Precisely.
Them and Guigal, really.
Yes, them, Guigal, and Chapoutier tends to be the top three legends from the Northern Rhone. This one is coming from a village called Crozes-Hermitage. So that's where French wines get complex, because we start with the broader geography, but then we get into the name of the villages.
And they love their villages.
Exactly. And Crozes-Hermitage is the village of Crozes, which is right next to the hill of Hermitage, which is one of the most prestigious crus. Not only in the Northern Rhone, but around France. This is an estate that is also organically certified. They've done a fantastic job in the last 20 years. Beautiful attention to nature, and that's why you've got the little drawing of a bee playing right in the middle of a name.
Oh, I see there. I don't remember that being there. Was it always there?
No, they only added it in the last couple of years. They also changed the name of this wine. Now it's called the Black Mule, as an homage to the mules that we were using in the vineyards previously. So this is 100% Syrah. Goes from older vines starting to around 35 years old. And then limited oak treatment, but very seductive style. It's a very silky, smooth example of wines. It's gorgeous.
I must say, I do love, and as far as France goes, I think that you're getting probably the best bang for your buck out of the Rhone. the quality of wine that's coming out of the Rhone and what you're paying for it. If you compare it to Burgundy, for example, where you can end up paying an absolute fortune for a very mediocre bottle of Pinot Noir. Because Pinot Noir is like that little girl that had a little curl, you know.
Pinot Noir is unforgiving.
And when she was nice, she was very, very nice. And when she was bad, she was nasty. And that's sort of what Pinot Noir is really. So if you want to be almost certain of a fabulous bottle of red wine from France, go to the Rhone. North or south?
Exactly. I mean, the south is delivering fantastic value.
Gorgeous.
We're talking about the prestigious Châteauneuf du Pape, which is at the top of the southern Rhone, but you have beautiful examples of Côte du Rhône. And when Baptiste was there,
Baptiste, you must go and have a look at the podcast because we had another Frenchman here. He was from Crissier, in fact, and we tasted, and he's got a family farm there. If you're keen to learn some more about France, you must learn some more about France. The wines are delicious.
And these, to me, are the perfect winter warmers.
Yeah, they are.
I mean, really, there's this quote that I love, which says, "Wine is like a hug from the inside."
Oh,
and to me, that is the Southern Rhone.
It is. Absolutely, yeah.
That blanketed profile. Which is why, knowing that obviously they'll be in summer over here while we're in winter, but from some of the days, especially when they spend a lot of time in the Alps, if you want to have a little bit of a joker, that's why you can have a little bit of a Provence rosé as well. Yeah. And some of you may say it's not the season for rosé, but rosé is about lifestyle. Yes. Always
the season for rosé. Sexy one.
Exactly. It's fun, it's playful. We still are blessed to have these fantastic warmer days in the middle of the day.
Well, that's in Gauteng. If you're one of those silly people that went schlepping off to Cape Town, it's not nice in Cape Town. And if you're in Durban, it's even less nice because they got tornadoes there at the moment. So stay in Gauteng, guys. It's nice.
But that's an example, middle of the day when it's still goes to 20 degrees, you're in the sun, you can enjoy a beautiful glass of Provence rosé before the season.
And then we're going to go around sort of underneath Champagne.
Yeah, so after the loop through the Alps, they go a little bit throughout the south of Burgundy, Jura, one loop in Alsace, and then they finish in the Champs-Élysées in Paris.
If you want to fall deeply, desperately in love, go to Alsace. I love Alsace. There's a little town in Alsace, while we're giving you geography and French wine lessons. There's a little town in Alsace called Riquewihr.
Yes.
And Riquewihr is a Christmas town. It just has Christmas all year round, and I love Christmas. So I was in heaven when I landed in Riquewihr. It's just got one street that goes all the way from the bottom up to the top, and it's just Christmas shops. And they keep the Christmas decorations and stuff in those shops the whole year round. I loved it. And in Riquewihr, which is literally, I think, 2 or 3 streets, that's all it is, I think there's something like 3 Michelin-starred restaurants.
It is.
It is an extraordinary
also a little bit of
place.
a time capsule.
Oh.
To say, you've got these fantastic older houses.
Maybe we should put together a tour and take people to France.
What is always one of the best things, we've got a lot of clients going to France.
We could.
Most of the time we facilitate some appointments for them.
Yeah, we do.
But yes, we could be looking at going
around
little,
just do a little thing like that. So they're going to go underneath, they're going to go through Alsace.
We're going to go through Alsace. Through Alsace. So here, to pair, you can go, when we go through the southern part of Burgundy, I would recommend the Pouilly-Fussé, for instance, in the Mâconnais region. Then you've got some Jura, so if you're an amateur of vin jaune, Jura, or Arbois,
yellow
some fantastic examples.
From the Jura.
In Alsace, Alsace, you've got great examples of, let's say, dry Riesling, or Pinot Gris.
And Gewürztraminer.
And Gewürztraminer with that beautiful Turkish delight profile.
Rose petals and things. Oh, so nice.
And then as they finish in Paris, it's always a champagne occasion.
Yeah.
Which is the closest region to the arrival as well.
Have you got any champagne in stock?
We do.
Champagne is in grave danger of going out of stock and becoming a dinosaur. there's just not enough, is there?
It's been a victim of its success.
Yeah.
In that way.
What a nice product to have. If you have a product that's so successful that you can't grow enough of it. And in typical French tradition, they have not allowed anybody else to make champagne. So it is just champagne. I mean, we all make sparkling wine. The English are now trying very hard, and I see that some of the French champagne houses have also bought vineyard in England.
Mm-hmm.
So it must be good.
Well,
but the English sparkling wine is so expensive.
It's about similar price to champagne.
How can that be? You know, you can't steal somebody's recipe. Well, you can steal their recipe, but you can't steal their pedigree. Those pedigrees are age old. Champagne has been made there for so long, and they have this pedigree that you pay for, and they've invested a lot of money into that pedigree.
Precisely. I mean, what has made champagne so prestigious is it was the first wine region to produce and specialize in sparkling wine. So for centuries, they've been ahead in that regard. Initially discovered by mistake, but once they controlled the process, it really spread out.
Absolutely.
And embodied the prestige. And there was this quote that I quite enjoyed as well, which is, champagne is the drink of people who are someone and the people who want to be someone. Yeah. It's really aspirational, and that's why it's also a lifestyle. I have a personal story of mine that I love to share. We tend to associate champagne with celebration too often, but champagne really is more of a lifestyle. It's another drink we can have for breakfast.
And with our porridge.
Exactly. With
orange juice in it.
Croissant,
with a croissant.
And when I was still working in Paris, I was working in a corporate job, and I was meeting a friend of mine at the end of a long day for after-work drinks, and like, I had a shit day, let's have champagne. And I said to him...
it's always a good antidote. I've had a shit day, let's have champagne.
And I said to him, well, what is there to celebrate? You just told me you had a terrible day. He was like, yes, but the day is not over. And now we're taking control of it. We're seizing it and we're going to turn it around. And that always works. Champagne has such this bright, beautiful energy.
It makes you feel so much better about yourself, about life, about everything. It's just a million little bubbles. There's nothing happier than a bubble. Bubbles are a happy thing.
Precisely. And you know what makes the difference with champagne as well is the soil, which tends to be chalk, which we don't have much. The English have some of it, but they also come with humidity.
Are they? Those wines are going to go fraught. You're going to see. They're going to get powdery mildew, and they're going to get...
No, but we do produce beautiful examples thanks to that chalk.
Yeah.
Humidity is a challenge, but with global warming, I think it's been actually playing more in their favor. But this chalk is fantastic because it gives just the right amount of moisture, and irrigation is forbidden across France.
It holds this water into the soil.
And that gives that beautiful profile, which, chalkiness, minerality.
Liminess.
Lime, exactly, that comes through. So that's one of the differences. And another difference is the long aging. The longer aging. Most champagne, when we drink non-vintage champagne, each age for a minimum of 3 years for most houses. A lot of them have actually extended their aging program.
I know.
But over time, these bubbles get finer and finer. More and more delicate.
I know.
And that's
you almost want to brush your teeth with champagne. You know, you could sometimes when you're rinsing your mouth out and you get all bubbles in your mouth.
It's a fantastic palate cleanser.
It is a palate cleanser. It's gorgeous. You can brush your teeth with bubbly. So we're going to finish in Paris, and we're going to drink as much champagne as we can get our hands on. South Africans make fabulous sparkling wine too. So if you can't get French champagne, you can have some South African sparkling. And there's nothing wrong with that. But if you can, have some Philippa nut.
Yeah, we recently received a consignment of Philippa now.
So nice.
We've got quite a few different houses.
Very nice. Very, very nice champagne.
Yeah,
that's that. And then, when we're finished riding bicycles and drinking wine and traveling through this beautiful, beautiful country, France is gorgeous. In the middle of it all is Bastille Day. And I just said to her, what do the French people do on Bastille Day? When I looked it up online, because I knew I was going to chat to you, it said there's some very somber military parades.
That is correct.
Coupled with dancing with gay abandon in the street.
Or
So
dancing
what?
with firemen. It's
Firemen, we like French firemen anyway.
No, well, it tends to be kind of more of an official ceremony in general, but especially one of the prime is fireworks. You've got the most fantastic display of fireworks, usually on Bastille Day. I mean, we burned the Bastille back that
you
day.
burned it down.
In France, we call Bastille Day, well, very creatively 14th of July.
Yeah.
Because that is the date of Bastille Day.
Yeah.
14th of July, which is going to be a Friday. This time right in the middle of the Tour de France. That's why we always tend to be rooting for a French cyclist to win that day.
When last did a French cyclist win?
Oh, we're talking a few decades. It's a long waited, you know.
It's lots of pomp and
like
swank and
the
ceremony, but they don't win.
So it's a long wait. But we're hopeful, you know. And so yes, it is a bit more of an official day. That's why there's a few ceremonies. And then in the evenings, fireworks, and a little bit, it tends to be the evening before the dancing component. So, but it's also a moment of togetherness. That's a moment you go around with the people close to you.
Yeah.
And I mean, the warm wine that I always pair with Bastille Day, and that also ties up with another story. Just about 4 years ago, so when the business was very recent for Premier Cru, I was doing a tasting and somebody playfully said, you're such a typical Frenchman, you're so arrogant.
He is arrogant. So you know what he did? He went over to France and he found a wine called the Arrogant Frog. And it's such a cute label. This frog is in the vineyards. He's dressed up like a typical Frenchman. He's got a beret on and what have you. And he is arrogant. You can just see he's arrogant.
Exactly.
And
but, yeah.
we decided that Herve would be affectionately termed the Arrogant Frog.
Yes, it's better than the pretentious toad.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a wine, I say it's arrogant but not pretentious. It's so the winemaker, what's he called, Paul Mas, he names himself the humble winemaker, and he calls himself the ambassador of rural luxury in that sense. So it is actually a humbling wine as well, playing on the fact that, you know, French people are known to be a bit more arrogant in that
Just
sense.
a touch, yeah.
But this is a wine that also is very affordable, delivers on the price point. We're talking about 140 rand, a very juicy tannins, soft, fruity type of drink.
Lovely.
Great
It's fabulous wine. That is every man's wine. I always say that you've got to have Volkswagen Beetles and Bentleys. And that's the Volkswagen Beetle of France and of Johannesburg, or South Africa now, because we're lucky enough to have it. It's got a white sister. It's got a Graf, really. It's no, it's a Viognier Chardonnay. Hey?
So we brought in two blends for this pair. The red wine is Cabernet Sauvignon Merlot. It's 55% Cabernet Sauvignon, 45% Merlot.
You'll all love it. You will all love that Arrogant Frog. It's really good value for money. And
the white wine is a Chardonnay Viognier, which is 90% Chardonnay and just 10% of Viognier to just give that peachy florality.
Yeah, that little white blossom. It's gorgeous. Pretty wine. Pretty. So if it's nice and if it's starting to get warm, but July can be a bit of a shitty month, even in Gauteng. We get sort of blizzards and rain in the middle of winter and cold.
That's when we need to brace for the cold in the evenings.
I know. So you can have the white during the day if you want to, but the red definitely at night. It's delicious wine. So Arrogant Frog on Bastille Day, the 14th of July.
Exactly.
We've been almost around the whole country.
It's traveling without moving in that sense.
We've traveled the whole of France. We've done the whole Tour de France. I hope you enjoy it all. It's Wimbledon as well this month. And Wimbledon is brilliant also to celebrate, I don't know, strawberries and cream and rosé. Does it for me.
To me, I'm thinking Wimbledon, I'm thinking Pims.
Yeah, well, you French, but I think that rosé with Wimbledon would be quite nice. But it's a fun, fabulous sporting month. And I think that there's a really, really good lineup of wines. So you can look at all of those things. Oh, Talon's going to kill me. My phone's ringing.
No.
Is it interfering with...
break.
Sorry, guys, my phone's ringing. I should actually... Sorry about that.
You're in high demand as well.
High demand. And this person's not going away either.
No.
There's a lot of lovely wine to choose from. Thank you for joining us on our little Tour de France. And thanks to Herve for bringing these fabulous wines along. Enjoy.
Thank you very much. Have a lovely July together.
Yep.
Another production from Solid Gold Podcasts.